Hello to viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about AMD Ryzen 7000 series. So let's dive right into it. Now, before you understand 7000, you have to understand AMD 5000 was really good. What does that mean? That simply means when it was launched, there was no competition from Intel side of view. Meaning, you buy AMD, that's it. The end. There is no discussion. That's it. That was really, really good. Now, over the long-term picture, as in like if you zoom out, you have to understand CPU space is competitive again, meaning at the very early of the stages of the PC race, there was like a lot of competition. There was like Power PC and all that jazz, x86, there was a RISC architectures, but it's like started to become stagnant. After that, around let's say 2010, we reached a point where like each CPU was barely any more powerful. However, that started to piss off a lot of company, specifically Apple. And if you look at the Apple's chart that they were showing that x86 did not become exponentially more powerful. They were like x86 in 2010 was like, let's say 1x. 2011 it was like barely 1.11x. It was like very slow growth. But they were looking at ARM processors. They went from like barely able to do anything to okay, we can we can hang, to I got this, to really good, to bitch please. So the exponential growth of ARM created a scenario where ARM can do desktop level thing. And how big a deal that is? First, Apple is a big customer of Intel. So if Apple says no to x86, that's a big issue. Now there are a lot of servers, a lot of supercomputers that are using ARM processors. So CPU space is no longer just like x86 is the king. It's very seriously contested. And on top of that, ARM itself is one thing, and then there is a RISC-V that is like slowly working in the background, which is open source. So right now, all the company, meaning AMD, Intel and ARM holdings, they really have to work really hard because the market is heated up. So AMD has to put up the pressure, because this is the first time after a very long time where AMD went from like oh, the poor people option to like no, that's a good option. So they really have to keep pushing it. And landscape is changing too goddamn fast, meaning we went from PCI 3 to PCI 4 in normal amount of time. Like that's how long it's supposed to be, and 4 to 5 just now. It's like, what the hell? So landscape is changing too goddamn fast. And Intel is also doing burst launches, meaning the gap between Intel 10th gen, 11th gen and 12th gen was too goddamn quick, meaning you could literally find videos that were released between a year. That's how quick launch it was. Because again, Intel also wants to, gain the market share and all that. So the market is changing a lot. That's why Ryzen 7000 was not we can take our time. No, we have to do it right now. So 5000 was good. They have to show that market like, we can keep doing it again and again. So 7000 is the answer. So they have thrown away all the old design, and it has upset a lot of people. But you have to understand there is an upper limit of how much you can expect your past to know, meaning your past, whoever designed AM4, there is a limit to that. It's like how much they can forward build it. There is only two ways of forward building it. A, you be smart about it, but that has a limitation. B, you just make it like 5000 pin. Again, you can understand that for cost reason and size limitation and all that, you could not gonna have 5000. So there is a smart limitation. So they did it, and compared to everybody else, they did really good job of it. And people have got like 3+ years of motherboard use, almost 2 or 3 generations of CPU socket compatibility. So that's really good. So AM5 is from now onwards, and this time it's gonna use a land grid array of 17, 18, and it's almost now it's no longer have the pins. It's literally like how Intel CPU is now. AM4 is no longer supported, and it's a whole new start. And the primary reason for this whole new start is PCI Express 5.0 and DDR5. Now they want to do full support because Intel kind of rushed it. So people are noticing that DDR5 performance is not as good as it's supposed to be in server industry. Like server industry is generally one generation ahead. Right now there are servers who are running on PCI 6.0. So you have to understand, like servers are generally one step ahead. So you have a comparison point. It's like, dude, you're not able to perform to the same extent. Chipset is not mature enough. And I'm reasonably sure by the time like drivers have been optimized, other things have been sorted out, BIOS have been sorted, it will have a bit more performance, but right now it's not there. And early reports, let me be clear about that, reports is that AMD's implementation is far more mature. Like they had a bit more time to it. They're like, we got this, we can cook it properly. And we're gonna have PCI 5.0, which is becoming a really big important thing for server and workstation users. So this is AM5, the new boy. Now, they are also changing the chipset. So people sometimes are expecting like, we're going to have AM5 and then we're going to have old chipset support for it at least. So that will have, if you do not need DDR5 and PCI 5.0, you can still use your old compatible equipments with newer motherboard and newer processor. But that's not the case. You have to buy a new chipset. So no more backward compatibility. That's a bit painful. That will have the, overall system cost would be a bit higher. However, you have to understand this. PCI 5.0 is a very big deal, but it's so far ahead that GPU does not need it. Like flat out, you can go from PCI 3.0 to 4.0. You have to run very extensive artificial tests to even notice a difference, let alone 4.0 to 5. Like flat out, GPU no longer needs it. And you can see that in product stack. The lowest stack, like cost effective stack, is B650. It has technically only one slot, that is PCI 5.0, and that's used for storage. Now you're like, wait a minute, why storage? Well, the reality is, while GPU has not reached a point, because inherently GPU consumes the data and feeds out through display output. It is doing the crunching work, so it does not need fat pipe. But fat pipe is needed by the main storage, and storage has went exponentially better. We were like, SATA 2, SATA 3, then we went to NVMe. The moment we went to NVMe, it became directly a PCI bridge interface. At that point in time, the faster the PCI, the faster the storage can go. And NVMe protocol was written in such a way that it can scale almost exponentially. So it has the horsepower, meaning if you provide the lanes, it has the horsepower to run on it. So we went from barely having an SSD that can do 1 Gbps to 3 Gbps to right now you can buy 5, and 6 and 7 Gbps are in use in server industry. So hardware is already there. If you create the lanes on consumer electronics, all the companies that are selling products to, like, NAND chips to the server industry, they can just package it differently and sell it to consumers. So there is already a use case for it. That's why storage actually needs it, and that's why B650 is focused on storage, meaning your NVMe chip can actually talk to PCI 5.0. And is there any software use of that? That's the hardware. Okay, we got the hardware. Is there a use for that? Yes, specifically in gaming. Gaming's biggest bottleneck was the slowest speed of SATA. And right now, only in this generation, basically PS5 and the current Xbox, they have started to use NVMe protocol, and they want to integrate what they call direct storage. Direct storage will take at least 2 to 3 years to come into PC. I have worked in the game industry, so I can guarantee you anything that you see today has been worked on at least 3 to 4 years ago. So this is one of the things. It will take some time to truly hit where you're gonna have latest Far Cry or latest Forza, where all the assets are directly loading from SSD. In those sort of scenario, having 5.0 SSD will directly transfer it into better user experience. So that is why B650 is actually more than enough for most people, because GPU cannot use it. But if you are like, hey, I want bit more oomph, you can go X670, which has one slot would be generally at least a PCI 5.0 and one storage slot that will be 5.0. That's more than good enough for almost everything. How good? You can buy X670 and have a PCI splitter that steps down from PCI 5.0 to 3.0, and you can run a mining rig out of it with one PCI. So that's how fast 5.0 is. And then you have show off, I have boatload of money, or I'm a workstation user where I'm crunching numbers on very large graphics cards, multiples of graphics card. Then you can buy X670 Extreme Edition or storage system, or in some scenarios you may want to edit video on optically connected network attached storage. In those sort of scenario, having PCI 5.0 will reduce your latency. Not the speed. Speed cannot go too much faster beyond the upper limit, but your latency can improve a lot, and that is a big deal. So that's why there is a whole new chipset, and practically for most people 650 is more than good enough. Buy it and forget it. For some people who are a bit more flexible room, 670 Extreme is just show off. There will be only 3 to 10 people in this planet who actually needs it, unless you are talking about server. At that point, just buy Epic systems. So there is a new approach this year, that is integrated GPU. Now you have to understand it. This is a very clever move. They removed integrated GPUs from their processor stack to reduce cost, improve manufacturing time, and make motherboard bit cheaper. While it was awesome, it did create an issue, specifically during this chip shortage. Now they are coming back to their old ways, or basically how Intel has been working, and it's very smart for them, simply because while Intel was very good in CPU space, desktop space, server space, AMD has been quietly taking their lunch money from the console space, and it a big deal, meaning you're not gonna sell one console, you're gonna sell millions of console. So having millions of developers working their ass off to write your driver for your RDNA structures, that means the RDNA is now far more mature compared to any other thing that Intel can muster. So they have a lot of experience with APU, and APU is one of those things that AMD was genuinely ahead, and I mean 8-9 years ago it was ahead. Why? Because AMD acquired ATI, that was a graphics division, and Intel never truly performed hard work on their graphics division. Only now they are we have to work on graphics seriously. So they had a very leap ahead start, and their experience is flat out. There is no competition here. So they are now leveraging that puppy into your desktop market. Now, is there a point to it? Yes. The first point is, think of it this way. This puppy will be launched into the market, Ryzen 7000, in January 2023. Okay, here's the deal. NVIDIA is most likely to release 4000 RTX by February. Now, what the hell are you gonna do? If it is Intel, you can use integrated graphics. It's not amazing, but at least your system will boot, your system will work, and most things can be done with it. Integrated graphics is not amazing, but at least it can get the job done. But if you had an AMD system, your system will not boot simply because there is no graphics card. However, if this generation comes to the market and then you have that issue, is like, do I wait? You can wait. You no longer have to buy a low power, basically a placeholder card or obligation GPU. Because many people, if they do not have the carryover GPU, they are stuck. So that's a very big issue. And in chip shortage, that became very apparent. So that's smart from that side of view. Another, for low power laptops, everybody wants the latest and greatest gaming laptop. Most of people don't touch it the moment they see the price tag. So AMD is like, we know how to make consoles level power. How about we push it? How about we give it into laptops? That's a really good market. Another market that, if you have paid attention to a lot of system integrator systems that are sold for office workers and government jobs and all that, most of them are still Intel. Why? Simply because they do not want to buy extra physical equipment like a GPU to run the damn system. Integrated system for low power desktops is really priceless. And they have, and not to mention, they already have much better than Intel integrated graphics. So these two markets, they're gonna clean sheet. And remote users, for example, what are the secondary users of computers for enthusiasts? Basically, they make it into NAS, they make it into routers. Having integrated GPU helps in those sort of process, so that expands their scope. It's a really smart move from their point of view, and they have much better performance than competition. This is one of those things that's like, bro, we got this, we got this, we got this. So that's why this is a really clever move from their side. So the final question, should you buy or not? Well, reality is, right now we are making this video very early on, and again, AMD itself is announcing it way too early. So January 2023 is expected. Now they're claiming fall. We know that's not happening. So that's generally the January 2023 when you can actually buy it. Now, be very mindful. This is not a revolution. This is an evolution. Revolution was basically AMD 5000, because they improved the cyclic efficiency, meaning how many instructions can be processed in one cycle, was improved dramatically, and that's why it was so goddamn ahead. This time it's more of a okay, we got the same design, the 5000 series design, we added new controllers to it for the RAM units, for the PCI. That's the new thing that has been added, and we have polished this puppy. We went from let's say 6 or 7 nanometer to 5 nanometer, and we made it more horsepower capable, meaning it can go boost higher, but it does not have changes, meaning it's more of we had the system, we added some new system, and we polished it a bit. It's not a new design. I'm expecting 8000, if they follow the naming convention, would be the one that will have the revolution aspect. So you have to be calm about it, you have to wait about it, and I would urge you to, before you save up money for it, just wait for real world hands-on review. Now, do not expect wow performance. If you have AMD 5000, do not expect it's a person who has 7000 is look, mine is 10 times better. No, if they are really lucky, they will be able to notice it. That's it. Do not expect it's because here's the deal. While we do want, on a spreadsheet, we do want minus 200 FPS, minus 250 FPS. Here's the deal. Can you actually tell the difference? Do you have a graphics card that display that runs at 250 Hertz? So that's one of those things where it's 5000, more than good enough. And this is literally same thing with DDR5 and PCI 5.0. Now, if those things are important for workstation users, for heavy data crunchers, those are important things, shut up and take my money. For that, shut up and take my money. That's one of those things. And what you are gaining as a normal consumer, higher clock speed. That should be the main thing. Rather than being limited to 4 gigahertz to 4.5 gigahertz, you should be able to easily push beyond 5 gigahertz. This should be the first time where 5 gigahertz is a normal thing, whereas it's not clocking, it's not cooking the system. It's I got this. 5 gigahertz plus is I got this. Stable, all cores, and because of the efficiency gained in 5000 series, that actually means a lot of performance. So to buy or not, that's completely up to you, especially if you buy your system and keep it for a very long time. I would say buy this, because again, RAM prices will come down, PCI 5.0 equipment prices will come down, and having a system that can accept it directly will help you. And if AMD follows their own trend, they will release, let's say, 7000 or 8000 chips, and it should be backwards compatible to AM5. If that happens, you have a, voila, more performance, more long-term stability. So if you keep your PC for very long term, buying this will be a very good investment. If you need DDR5, if you need PCI 5.0, you do not actually have other option unless you go to Intel. So in those sorts of, and again, if you are doing some single threading load where frequency matters, like you can notice is like, dude, this crunching task could be done much faster if it was like, rather than 4.5 gigahertz goes to 5 gigahertz, shut up and take my money. So that's the buying aspect, and I would urge you to just relax, take a chill pill, because again, January is a bit far away from it now. So this was my presentation on AMD Ryzen 7000. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.